That Mabuzak storyline is one of the storylines missing. That they should have at least done it for like a few seconds. And the vision Vakama gets to see when he searches Metronome being destroyed and he has to find, they find the sixth great disc, they're going to succeed. The great disc situation, just because Nakama said your destiny no longer lies in sculpting masks, what should if it has something to do with about their reason finding the great disc, couldn't they at least really, couldn't Vakama at least explain to her the reason of finding the great disc was the only way to stop Mabuzak? Because think about it, the discs help defeat Mabuzak, and they've saved the world, and yet Nakama refused to believe that, which makes Nakama one of the, which no offense makes Nakama and the others the most dumbest of all Toa, because all they did is fell for Pterodactyl's plot, and the scene where Taragaduma walks up to the shadow wall and the red eyes come out of it, saying the mask time is not yet completed. That is non-canonical because when Greg really stated in Bionicle Sector 01, the external Wikipedia page, that Pterodactyl was actually posing Taragaduma all along. Then they shouldn't have added that scene because it looks like that scene makes the fans think that Taragaduma is working for him, even though it's not. You guys know who it really is in the film. And second of all, when there was a difference I found out the difference of the heart-like colors of Taragaduma when Bakam opened up one of the Matoran pods inside. Taragaduma was seen sleeping in there had a yellow heart light. When Pterodactyl was posing Taragaduma, he had a red heart light. Right. Right. That's merely so the scene where he's talking to himself in the wall was merely inaccurate because it makes it look like he's working for him even though it's not. Right, Taraga would not work for evil forces. You're supposed to, you could have at least, because if you're supposed to say the Taragadum is merely convinced that the Darkin is a good, the Taragadum is merely convinced that the Darkin is a good guy, did not capture Lee Khan. Just don't put that scene in so that way it makes it look like he's working for evil. Make it look like he's influenced. Make it look like he feels a bit convinced. If it's gonna make it look like he's convinced by the darkness. If you're gonna make it more accurate, the Pterodactyl was actually posing him. Until then, when the Toa found the gateway to find Lee Khan's location, his Falcony Bork would have then flied his way to Pterodax, which then reveals the climax that they actually fell for a villain, and they actually fell for a villain's plot. And Lee Khan was one of the Toa I never heard of throughout the course of 2004. That's because I wasn't aware, wasn't able to get the comics back then. Until now, I got all the Metronui comics. I can read them at any time. And exactly how I found, and exactly when I was young, I wasn't aware this took place. This one storyline took place 1,000 years. But until when I was able to read the PDF pages in the former Bionicle.com archive site, you know, the one that has all the 2001 to 2006 media before it got cut down since 2009. The archives, which they call the archive site when the main site was a hit since 2007 with the Baraki all the way up to Glatorian when the thing is gone. That site, when I went to PDFP, the archive site, when I went to Wikipedia page, at the beginning half of the comic, Discs of Danger showed Taraga Vakam raising his arms, talking to the Tonu and Takanova about his story metronome. It was like, now I get it. This took place 1,000 years this took place long before 2001, and according to the Behind Sector, it took place 1,000 years. Which I then see why in the third draft Pterodax escaped, which we'll go over about that film later. And something about the third film, which I could reveal why, but I have to do something first. Yes. And first time I've heard of when I saw Lee Khan, I accidentally mistook him to be Toa Jala. But according to the film, he had another name. I was like, what? But until like the idea, I found it took place 1,000 years. It was according to the comic, Just a Danger, when I was able to look on Wikipedia pages. On PDF pages, Leakan is another guy. He first wore that Kanoe Howard two vent holes. The two vent holes that Jarl's mask used to be in Mask of Light. Right. Whereas according to set wise of Jala, he had three vent holes. The vent holes, like well, I could bring the mask shielding, but I gotta find that first. 1 minute, please. Sorry about that. Putting the camera to make it look all black. The beneath the eyes, you can see like three vent holes, like 1, 2, 3. Whereas Leakan had two vent holes in Jala, and it looked a bit catchy when they in the scene where they transformed to Taraga, because they needed to end it with the three virtues, which it could explain later, is that you can see that Jala once wore a red komau sitting in his Matoran, but broken half. I think it's because one of the pods that in the final battle against between Pterodax and the Tometru, one of the pods when Matau accidentally got tilted by those giant water molded pillars, is one of the pods began to fly off, floating into the ocean, and the Tometru were trying to rescue those pods, which like the one where they missed out one of the pods and Pterodax was able to corrupt one of them, that kind of idea. One of the pods that must have drifted in the Silver Sea, that fell and floated on the Silver Sea, might have an explanation why the former mask of Jarl is called which is the Komau broken half, and in exchange, he's got the Leakan's mask as Leakan technically gave it to Vakama to remember him before his death. And the favorite part about the Great Disc storyline is that I would have preferred if they did do they added at least 4 minutes of the Tometer versus Mabuzak storyline after finding the Great Discs. Then after the Mabuzak story, then they hit to the Colosseum where the Pterodax engineered the arrest of the Toa. While he costumed up Taragaduma, I would at least prefer to see that, so that we get to see the transition of the Great Disc storyline, where they were found in the Metros, helped to defeat Mabuzak, then Vakama merged them, which turned out to be the Disc of Time. When I was young, I found out when he quoted one of these great discs has got to be the Mask of Time in his head. That leads me to think combining them might be the explanation that they evolve into a Disc of Time. I was wondering, did he make the Vi out? Did he make the Mask of Time out of those discs that he combined the Great Discs with? According to Bionic Sector 01, yes, he did. Yes, the Great Discs did merge into the Disc of Time. Then Vakama wore the mask and then activated and channeled his power, but of course, because I was young and I wasn't aware, is that even Vakama is victimized by the mask's power. And the Vi fell to the sea, which we thought we'd never see it again. But exactly to that, in the Tales of Face storyline, how did Tao get the Mask of Time then? Of course, the Binding of Adventures 10 book that Greg wrote, somewhere that took place after the third draft storyline, he was able to retrieve it and the sea exposure rusting it to orange. So we get to see much more of the evolution. And one thing that puzzled me is because Greg put the story on hold due to what happened since, like, if you read it in Wikipedia that Greg Faust is busy on family obligations, is that what has now happened to the Mask of Time since after Voparak stole it in the Destiny War podcast? We haven't heard much of it since. And the favorite part about it is we get to see Vakama's transition from Matoran to Taraga. Matoran, for they worked for their respective metros, transformed into Toa, which has various missions, and the fact that the body parts changed, like the Toa heads, like the Toa Mata heads transformed into Toa heads, and then moved back to being Toa Mata heads when they became Taraga. Of course, there was a missing transformation part, which we'll go over and wipe it out, which is in the sequel to this one, and which we'll go over about the film review after. And the one thing that puzzled me is that when Matto activated the wings on his back, it looked when the scene when Matto hits that Taragaduma billboard or the post or whatever, uh, uh, when the wings were activated, he felt he exclaimed in excitement as if it was the first time he began flying with it, even though before that he did fly with those wings before. Such as during the Search of the Great Disc and the fight against Mabuzak, I'm sure he would have used those wings to fly before. And the chute that Matto dove in to retrieve his LoMN Great Disc